Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Slow Flowers Show. I'm Deborah Prinzing. Today, I'm really excited to welcome Elizabeth Fichter of Queen Bee Blooms, based in St. Louis, Missouri. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I'm really delighted that we're doing this special episode. Just to give people a little background, Elizabeth is a writer. She's written a couple of really amazing cover stories for Growing for Market magazine, Friends of the Pod. And the story in the October issue, it really is compelling. And I wanted to invite you, Elizabeth, to come talk with me about it. And, you know, invite people to join the conversation today and, to continue. The title of it is How to Have the Conversation That Will Change Perceptions Around Local Flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So to get started, I'm going to put it up on the screen, but I'm going to ask you if you'd be willing to read the first 4 paragraphs, just so people who are listening on the podcast, rather than looking at the video, can kind of get a sense of
Sure.
what this is all about. Okay. I'll put it up on the screen and I'll let you get started.
Uh, since the pandemic, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people who have declared that they are now flower farmers. You don't have to be an Instagram camper to have your feed saturated with a multitude of daily posts of people's farm stand flowers or bouquets, or to whatever degree they're growing flowers in their backyard, side lot, rented lot, or have embarked on a larger scale commercial production. I believe the entry of so many more people into the cut flower market is a good development. And I say this because I think that any effort to show more consumers what local flowers and supporting local flowers looks like is good. More cheerleaders, enthusiasts, and storytellers are needed. There's a piece of the pie for everyone. With that being said, all of us need to take up the mantle as ambassadors for our passion with a greater sense of urgency and with more technology marketing on board to reach our audiences and consumers. There is a tendency to get comfortable in our own bubbles. I get used to the relaxed comfort of those in my own circle who also are hyper conscious of the messages and importance of local flowers. Lulled into further complacency, the social media algorithms serve us up more of what our fellow flower peers are putting out, but not so much content from the people we really need to speak to.
Wow. Yes. Amen. I mean, all of it means it resonates so much with me, and I know it's going to resonate with people listening to this today. The story is very detailed, and they gave you a lot of space. So I encourage everyone to read it. And just to mention, thank you to Andrew Mefford, the publisher and editor. He shared the link with me, so you can have a free read. And of course, you should also subscribe. But we'll put that in our show notes at slowflowerspodcast.com. But just to start with the why, Elizabeth, what prompted you to write this story? There's got to be some incident or something that's been building over time.
Yeah.
What motivated you to dive into this and share your experiences with people?
We host weddings on our farm also as a additional source of revenue. And I began doing flowers for weddings in 2009. And I was one of those people that bought international flowers, not really knowing the difference, and listening to brides and seeing their Pinterest pictures and the pictures that they liked that inspired them, and just buying those and designing with them. And then actually, it was the discovery of the slow flowers movement and you specifically that really created a pivot in my mind of I am, as a farmer and a steward of land, I am contributing to negative outcomes, not only for the land, but for my local community, all of the negative things of supporting what I was doing. And I decided to start growing my own flowers. And the real challenge, I guess, was trying to explain to brides who were super rigid in their interpretation of the pictures they were finding Google searches on Pinterest, trying to change their perceptions and show them that there are much more beautiful varieties that are local, that are more fragile, that can be squished in a box, and trying to get comfortable feeling confident in what I could deliver to them rather than making runs to a cooler. And the product was crappy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting to hear about that epiphany because Um, you your relationship with how flowers are being consumed was dramatically influenced by hosting these weddings and
Mhm.
hearing what expectations there were among
There's
consumers.
such a disconnect. I don't think, even to this day, years down the road, I don't think that people quite realize, beyond seeing these pictures of these uniform, identical, unnatural looking roses, I don't think that they realize all of the baggage attached, all of the absolute negative baggage in terms of what it means for the workforce that's harvesting them, what it means in South America when there are mudslides and the product is destroyed, and what that's going to do to prices and their budget. I don't think people really knew
Yeah.
what those
Yeah.
flowers meant, and you gave a voice and a movement to try to teach them gently and to explain it in a way that wasn't judgmental, that didn't make you feel bad if you originally liked those. It brought you along gently. And I think
Well,
that was really
thanks.
great.
I think that, unbeknownst to I didn't really have a history in the professional floral industry because I was coming at the question as a gardener, and
Mhm.
just people have heard me say this before, but I just kept saying, "But why do they have to be flown here on a jumbo jet when I know my neighbor grows this flower? I know it can grow here.
Yeah.
It's just it's a much bigger, you know, almost like I don't know, like existential question that we're all struggling with." Um, in the piece, Elizabeth, you highlighted those challenges of selling your beautiful organic local seasonal blooms to specifically to professional florists. Is that sort of the pain point that kind of prompted you to just start articulating what you want florists to know and how to and figuring out how
Yeah.
to educate them?
Yeah, specifically, and because I'm in the middle of the country, I think that there is much more openness, much more education, much more awareness coastally than
Hmm.
necessarily in the Midwest, St. Louis. And seeing a lot of the local florists saying, oh, it's local flower season, and they're posting pictures, and I mean, it's not really, it disappointing to see that it's lip service
Mm.
for whatever level of cultural awareness there is about the benefits of local flowers, but not actually doing the work, not incorporating that into your process. And I know that a lot of florists work on recipes and stuff. And so if a local flower maybe is a little bit higher because it's more unique, or you're helping support local agriculture, I've found that florists are sort of inflexible, and to some degree that there's an older generation of
Mm.
florists that don't really want to learn new tricks, don't want to learn how to interact with fresh flowers, that are used to the uniformity, the varieties that they can just walk into a cooler and get because it's a known quantity to them.
Mhm.
There's no surprises, there's no like bug bite, there's no, oh, this flower's been pollinated. They're just sort of like Barbies in a bag. They aren't fresh, they aren't rambunctious, they aren't romantic. And I think that that's been really disheartening for me to try to
Yeah.
be a cheerleader for that.
Yeah, and I will just pause and say, thank God we do have progressive, like-minded florists and designers who are members of Slow Flowers. They're probably having similar challenges with their clients. That it's sort of like that's a B2C thing. You're talking about B2B.
Yeah, but
Um,
I wanna be clear, not to judge all of the florists. What I'm really excited about is that there is a whole new emerging, it's neat to see it. There's a whole new group of young women and men that are, very good about local flowers and representing and articulating on their website the seasonality of it. And it's really inspiring because they are the ones inheriting a planet that
mm,
is not in the greatest
mhm.
shape. They are the ones that need to be the stewards of all the good decisions moving forwards. They aren't at the back end of their career where like, oh, I don't know that I
Yeah.
can take this on board. They are like, absolutely, this is the way that we're going to do things. And it's really exciting to see those people. But a lot of those people are also incorporating not just designing with local, they're growing them to whatever extent they're able, which I'm
Yeah.
seeing too.
Um, when we talked about this when you were writing the article, you said something to me that made me think you are meeting people more than halfway to build your business. You're walking into flower shops with a bucket of flowers that you want to just give them to sample. And
Mhm.
even that sometimes is rejected. And I just want to encourage you, keep going.
I feel not so much that it's my shortcoming and that I haven't done enough to make a beautiful product or be put myself out there. I don't see it as my challenge. I am going to do what I'm going to do and keep growing beautiful stuff. I feel like the people that are going to get it are this younger generation that understand the benefits of partnering with a local grower. And that's one of the things I mentioned in the article is that when you're buying something that's been shipped in from Denmark or South America or wherever, you have no recourse. And I learned this the hard way for one event and a bride that wanted a Dijon mustard rose. And that was that was the signature bloom that she had her heart set on. And the wholesalers just dropped the ball and it didn't come in. And I was like, wow, I've hung my reputation on being able to deliver that flower and I have no control over it. There's nobody I can call that is going to have any kind of, oh, I'm sorry, we'll make it right. There's nothing like that. But the newer generations of florists and designers, the partnership that's available to a grower that can say, hey, what do you really love? What are you going to sell a lot of? Do you have a lot of spring or fall weddings? I could custom grow things for you. I can be a partner for you if you get to 10 o'clock on a Friday night and you need more purple mums, like call me. I'll
Yeah.
come bring them to you. If you need help setting up for the event, I'm your girl. Like that kind of partnership makes sense. I'm not going to stop trying to fit into the old square peg round hole. There's a new
Mhm.
evolution and I want to be part of that.
Mm, I love it. I love how you encourage the readers of this article to almost come up with a personal pitch or script or, impassioned message, kind of have it written out and something you can refer to, work into your language. And, that seems canned, but it's not. It's sort of like knowing how to move the dialogue along. Can I just read a little bit that you
Yeah,
wrote?
go ahead. Yeah.
You wrote, simply talking about what I was growing, why I was growing, and explaining the seasonality of flowers was something that, when articulated, it made all the difference in the world to the clients and brides. I think one of the greatest challenges we face as flower growers is getting in front of those people who are making the decisions. Usually, the middleman is the florist or the floral designer. So much of our outreach is to professionals in the industry to begin incorporating more local flowers into their designs. But for many, they want to do what's cheapest and easiest in terms of profit margin. And so maybe that's why you mentioned talking to clients and brides and couples, because they're the check writers.
Yeah,
They're not
exactly.
having to rely on someone to translate your beautiful flowers to them.
Yeah, I think that there's a problem if I'm trying to take beautiful new flowers, emerging new breeds, new varieties to a florist who is just numb to it, doesn't want to change. That's a disservice. And it's, I think, unfair to the client to not have all of those crayons in the coloring box of what they want their wedding to be. It is a disservice. And especially if I've shown up and like, hey, these are free. I want you to play with them. I want to see you design with them, like tag me or something. I think it's not fair to the client. But I think in terms of the focus for all of us should try to have that more direct engagement and control the narrative, control the messaging, control the images, and get more out to speak directly to those people making the decisions. But to your point, the conversation directly to brides, because I do weddings, I don't think it's not really, it's taking a chance and being your most authentic self. When you're
Mhm.
not talking about the what of a specific flower, like the coral peony to a September bride, and explaining it, when you're talking about why you do what you do, why you grow flowers, they fall in love with your passion and your, to whatever degree, knowledge, experience, the your understanding of your product, your crops, your flowers, and that is much more compelling. We are people that love to support a story. We want someone that we can trust and that we believe. And when you show that about yourself and why you grow flowers, I think it's overwhelming compared to a Pinterest picture. That
Mhm.
is much more resounding and impactful.
Yeah, and back to that reference of a script or a pitch, I think what I was getting at is once you come up with your way to
Mhm.
describe yourself authentically, maybe it becomes, rinse and repeat. Like the more often you do it, it's just natural and conversational. And you're so good at it, Elizabeth. I hope this gives people these tools, help others. And I was think that the tools you gave people in the article were 6 key strategic points that anybody could adopt for their business. And I think flower farmers, farmer florists, and yes, florists can take a page from you. And I just thought we could walk through those 6 items. You've started out by saying highlight environmental impact of local flowers. So
Mhm.
can you riff on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think you mean specifically talking to like the end user, the bridal client, the CSA, the flower subscription person. I think when you call attention to the cost of jet fuel, it's almost like you don't want to be a smartass about it and say like, flowers flown in from South America. Who do you think pays for that jet fuel? You.
Yeah.
So just saying like this is a huge carbon footprint that's absolutely unnecessary and it doesn't get you a better product. It's not as if we don't grow things here. So when you talk about the environmental impact of that and what you can do personally to undo it, slow floral, local, um, you can reduce that footprint and you can do better things for the environment. You can support local pollination. You can support organic practices. Better to not have pesticides in the flowers you're going to be putting in your face for a whole day.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's important.
Yeah, and I think just kind of telegraphing that my flowers are sustainable and
Mhm.
you're going to benefit from having them at your event or on your dining table because they're safer. That resonates with people too.
But to add on to that, to the sustainability of local flowers and having them on their table, one of the things that I really like to highlight specifically for clients is that I grow outside in the air, not in a covered greenhouse that is devoid of any like international flowers. There's no pollination. There's no chance that anything can spoil that flower. There's no chance that there's going to be a tremendous wind gust or rain or drought or bugs or anything. But there's a certain charm to that. There's a
Yeah.
certain real charm of anybody that's had a childhood of running around in summer that resonates with. And not only like if you buy fresh local flowers from somebody who's grown them outside and they're pollinated, I think it's a wonderful thing to say, like, this is your bridal bouquet, but if you save these or if you want me to save them for you, a lot of these varieties you're going to get seeds from that you can take into the future. So it's not even just something great for the environment, but there is a residual, there is something that you take into the future that
Mm,
reminds you of this good decision that ends up being an ongoing advocate for that decision you made.
that's beautiful. Okay, number 2, emphasize economic benefits. Obviously to you, but also to your community, right?
Yeah. But a lot of the people that are growing flowers predominantly, like this is my understanding, is it looks like a lot of women.
Mhm.
It looks like a lot of women. There are men out there, but like these are women that are pouring their heart and soul into the soil, growing beautiful flowers. And buying local flowers, you're keeping that money in your own local economy. You're supporting small business. You're supporting small women-owned businesses. You're not sending it overseas. You're getting it. I think it's a much better deal. You're getting a much better product,
Yeah,
but economically, like, it is all the right things to do.
I agree. This is not in any kind of hierarchy of order,
Sure.
but number three is highlight the quality and freshness. Now, I know your flowers speak for themselves, but sometimes they need an advocate. That's what you're talking about. Maybe talking about your growing practices. Is that one of the things you have to do?
Yeah, talking about growing practices that we grow organically, sustainably, but that I cut flowers the morning for a wedding, I will get up and be ready or have buckets ready with water to go cut fresh so that you get the freshest
Wow.
flower possible. It doesn't have to get squished in a box. It doesn't need to be put into a truck that's taken to an airplane that flies and waits on a tarmac, any of that. It is the freshest possible flower you could possibly have for your event. And that's something that I'm really proud of. And I think it's a great showing for local flowers because there are so many varieties that you don't see tons of pictures on Pinterest boards and stuff because they aren't saturating the feed and the algorithm. Just beautiful, delicate things. And I love to add those little details or beautiful blooms just to start getting more of those images out to the world. But the freshness of them, I think, is something that people just aren't aware how much more beautiful local flowers are.
Right, right. Well, that kind of segues beautifully into number four, which is connecting on an emotional level. And when you said something about how people who grew up running around in the garden or outdoors in the wild, that's the connection that you're making happen when you
Yeah,
paint a picture for
yeah.
people.
You put them in the picture.
Yeah, I love that. Um, leverage social media. You've hinted at social media and algorithms. It's scary because we don't really have control over a lot of these things.
Yeah,
I just posted a photo yesterday and on my personal feed, and I looked at the engagement, and I had 0 non-followers saw it.
yeah.
So I am definitely preaching to the choir of my social circle, which is great. They always heart and like and all of that, but we want to get beyond that. And
No, we
so
we want to penetrate to those decision makers, and it's really hard because you can, if you did a search for flower farm, that I can see what everybody else is doing, but I can't penetrate to. There's no way to filter search bride to be or getting
mm,
engaged. There's no way to tweak the algorithm to get in front of them unless you do a supported ad and you pick your
right.
demographic market.
Yeah.
So the only back channel that we really can control is saturating the images online via uploading to our Google pages, uploading to Google, uploading to Pinterest, which is super easy now. Instead of just saving pictures, we are creating content and we are
Mhm.
documenting everything. And I think that's really the one thing that puts us back in the driver's seat to control the narrative and control what is the new inspiration for flowers.
Well, on a practical note, Elizabeth, roughly how much time do you spend on social media in a given week or month? Or do
Uh,
you not want to tell us?
oh no, I'll tell you. I went for years, up until recently, where I just was so frustrated with the way that social media was used that I just took a break and
Mm,
I didn't see the value. I mean, I get to see beautiful things all the time, but I didn't feel necessarily obliged to create beautiful pictures and create FOMO for other people because being a content creator is almost like a chef that's sending out amuse-bouche, beautiful free appetizers that people pop in their mouth and that is free and it's just like candy and there's no connection. I think people are so
mm.
saturated with beautiful images and content that I didn't want to just be creating stuff just so people would be like, "Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful." I just wanted to live my life and grow and create things for my clients without having to be so socially engaged on social media. But you can't, you have to. there's no typical print advertising anymore that really penetrates or gets through to people. So you have to. And so I've tried very hard to create, to look just like you, looking at the engagement, the hearts and the likes. And I think a lot of the times the hearts and the likes, unfortunately, are coming from our friends. They're like, oh, good for her, she made a cute post. Like,
Yes, my
it's not,
cousin or something.
yeah, it's not really the engagement we need. We've got a lot of really great people in our support networks, but we're not, when we look at the data, like, are we reaching non-followers? I still have no idea how to trick the algorithm to reach the people I really want to talk to, but I can see what all my friends are doing and they can see me.
So, Elizabeth, I think your 6th point is maybe one of the solutions. You say create educational materials. So,
Mhm.
yes, create content, great, but what will people take and like keep and read and maybe respond to? How are you doing that, or what do you think some of the most successful ways to educate that are out there that you've seen?
I've seen a lot of people create things on their profiles and stuff that tell a little bit of the story. But I think a lot of growers are very worried about being too confrontational or too doom and gloom or being too pushy beyond just posting beautiful content. So one of the things I did is I made a really in-depth video that's on our homepage that tells all the statistics, and some of them are from you, about overseas
Yeah,
flowers and what that means. Like a video that if you are primed and you've actively gone to my website to, on the homepage, see what I'm all about, and you're want to watch this is the down and dirty of all of it. I've
yeah,
posted it online. And it's really just getting out there more and talking to more people. I don't think going to florists and have them be like, oh no, I think it's more getting the pictures out and having conversations as much as you possibly can outside of our bubbles. Just whenever you're like in the grocery store, like, oh, hey, like you're getting flowers. Oh, just any way that you can organically
right.
work it into a normal conversation, that kind of awareness. But I've created the videos and stuff, and posting statistics is super helpful. But different people respond to different things. I think it's
Yeah.
more compelling to have a chance to have a conversation.
Yeah. Well, this is a good time for me to stop and let's talk a little bit about Queen Bee Blooms. I'm going to pop up your website, your homepage. Maybe we'll see. Let's see if my platform will do this. See the invitation here to dive into Queen Bee Blooms Farm.
Hmm.
You've got kind of your story here. Is the video on this homepage?
Yep.
Okay, just keep scrolling here, Deborah.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Well,
Why buy local flowers?
have you watched this?
I haven't. Can I go ahead? It's
Yeah.
just 2 minutes. Let's play
Yeah.
it.
Click it.
Now, for people who are just listening to this, I'm going to encourage you to get over to our slowflowerspodcast.com show notes. I believe this is for episode 690, and watch the video because that is really compelling, Elizabeth. And you really kind of laid it out in a friendly way, not non-threatening, as you said, but the closing message about you deserve fresh local blooms. You deserve to have sustainable flowers like that. Whatever that message was, I think
Mhm.
focused on the customer. So
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah. You deserve a better product.
Yeah,
And
that's
not have to pay
great.
for jet fuel.
Yeah. So do you have people who comment that they've watched it and or maybe had their opinions changed or just learned something?
Um, I haven't. I mean, in my close circle, people have watched it. I
Yeah.
don't have any sense. I don't have any way to post it to a bigger audience. But
Yeah. I mean, maybe Facebook. I don't know. It's
yeah, I posted it to Instagram and Facebook. But
okay.
again, trying to break through to get the message out, I think.
What do they say? Like someone has to receive information 7 or 8 times before they take an action or
Yeah,
take action on it. So hang in there, keep
yeah.
doing it.
I'm
But
making.
tell me, how did Queen Bee Blooms get started? Did it start as a wedding venue, or have you been in the horticulture world or the floriculture world for a long time?
This farm has been in my family. I moved back after my mother passed away in 2008 and changed my life. I was the director of a museum in St. Louis. I've done sales and marketing, but I moved back and changed my life and hosting weddings and growing flowers for the weddings to make the shift, just gradually doing more and more and more. And it is the most rewarding, and it's so crazy to just get up in the morning and feel all these endorphins and adrenaline just because you can't
Mm,
wait to see flowers. So it was an evolution from doing weddings, but I'm actually at the point where I'm maybe not doing weddings and just doing the floral for it and doing
mhm,
things off property.
mhm. Oh, off property.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it is a lifestyle um, choice, I guess, about protecting your just quality of life by limiting how many people are going to,
Yeah.
arrive at your property and need your
Yes.
attention, right?
It's also because once you start advertising on Google and you have to put an address, all of a sudden people just start showing up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
I hear that. So, primarily, are you selling wholesale or where are you selling your flowers other than your own events?
um, locally, people are placing orders, arrangements, doing a lot of classes, a lot of bloom bars, people just coming to the garden wanting to have an arrangement created in a chromatic hue and um, promoting them through classes and having people tactily work with them and fall in love with them
Yeah.
and be return customers and clients. So,
Mm, I love it. Okay, before we wrap up, I have one more thing I want to talk to you about, but is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to make sure we include for our conversation today?
nothing I can think of. This is just a surreal year to be this deep into the season and still have this many flowers. It's pretty magical. So extending the ability to still have product available, but also we're focusing on getting ready for our seed sale starting in December.
Okay, well, we'll make sure to share all your social places and links so people can find out about that. Are those seeds? Do you ship them or are they
Yes.
all local?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I want to wrap up with an interesting story that you shared in the article. You said one of the best things I can do when talking to clients and perhaps reviewing their photo inspiration or Pinterest boards
Mhm.
is to validate their desire for something beautiful. And that's kind of what the video did. It's like you deserve beauty in your life. You look at the images, you recognize their color story, but from the point where you're looking at a photo of a coral peony for a September wedding, here's your chance to say something like this. And you say, I love that this image has a large focal bloom and you're wanting sunset hues for the arrangement. But if I could make a suggestion, since importing out of season peonies from the other side of the world might not be so kind to your budget, I'd love to show you the beautiful hues and styles of dahlias that will be in season for your wedding. Furthermore, if we're using flowers that have been held at 35 to 37 degrees Fahrenheit, the humid Midwest is really a difficult adjustment for that flower.
Mhm.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. But a local flower grown in the climate of your event is going to have the resilience and staying power we really need for your design. They'll be easier on your budget, and the variety of fresh local flowers is a substantially wider toolbox to give you floral design that can't be duplicated by the limited offerings of overseas floral. We can go in whatever direction you like. Which would you like?
Yeah.
This reminds me of, when you have toddlers and you want them to do something, you give
Make
them,
good choices.
but both choices are okay with mom.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
love
I
it.
just want you to be informed. No, I think that conversation, again, to the point of people feeling comfortable to have the conversation, is just being gentle, saying that is a really beautiful picture. And so the benefit of having a client create a Pinterest board is, I always say, like a minimum of 40 images.
Hmm.
And just because when you have 40 images to look at, and it's not like letting your eyes go out of focus, but you start to see what the repetitive element is, whether it's color, a signature bloom, the geometry of the arrangement, the palette, or whether it's specific that it's all roses, monochromatic, or it's very tight and formal, where in this one they're all sort of cascade, whimsical style. You start to see what those elements are, and you start to see what the pattern is, and typically they don't see it yet. So you have the chance to say that those are really beautiful images, but just you're going to get married September 24th, and peonies are a Mayflower. They're typically around Mother's Day. So without having to like make arrangements and having them maybe coming in or maybe not from the other side of the world, I just want to know, like, do you specifically love peonies, or do you just like what that does to that arrangement? Is that
Hmm.
what speaks to you? Because I
Yeah.
think this would be a much better solution, and we can get you more of those and have more impact. And nobody's ever said, no, 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 I definitely, I've never, it's because it's authentic. It's 100% real, and you're validating and enlightening them on what they love about all those pictures. It's showing that you can make them feel comfortable, and typically they want to be able to trust you to sub in. The highest compliment that I get from clients is, by the time we're coming up to the wedding, they say, you know what, whatever you do, I trust you completely. That is
Yeah.
the biggest huge compliment. To like,
Yeah.
we know how passionate you are, we know what you're growing, whatever you're going to do is going to be perfect. I know it, because they want to let go of that.
Right. And your suggestion about looking at the sort of the patterns
Yeah.
and
Finding
themes
yeah.
from the Pinterest board is like you're interpreting that
Mhm.
and giving them the language that they perhaps couldn't articulate,
Yeah.
which is more palette driven or more stylistically driven, aesthetic. That's great. I've heard that from other people too, and I just think everyone has to put their own kind of brand of communication on it. It's so refreshing because Elizabeth, how many florists and farmers have we heard complain about the dreaded Pinterest board? Like, oh my God, I can't look at another one. And you're saying, hey,
It's a Tower of Babel for you.
yeah,
It's not your enemy if you repopulate it. Also, the other thing that I didn't mention in the article is, if you have your own Pinterest boards of your own product, your own flowers, your own arrangements, and you task them with making. So I create secret Pinterest boards, so it's not open to the public, and then I send them the link. But when they're looking for images to be inspired by, I get all of my images pinned back to me, which is such a wonderful win. So if you take
brilliant.
the time to create your own content and your own Pinterest boards, it's priming them for what you're able to deliver and what's reasonable and what's going to be seasonal.
And are those Pinterest boards, because I think this is a great tip, are they by month or are they actual finished designs? Or,
Both,
flowers in the field or finished
just
designs?
everything.
Okay.
It's blooms, it's colors, it's details, it's arrangements. I organize boards into boutonnieres, bouquets, hair, floral, like all the minutia stuff.
That's
But I
brilliant.
also think that brides really fall in love with someone that is very focused on details.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. I heard something that I didn't have the chance to include in the article. Um, an out of town destination florist reached out to me to purchase a huge amount of dahlias for a wedding that they were doing in town. And I know you know her because you interviewed her once,
Okay.
Alicia Rico from Bows and Arrows.
Oh yeah.
So she,
She's a real advocate for local flowers.
yeah.
I've
So,
watched her change from really to being one of those like shop at the wholesaler, have the wholesaler ship you a box, to now she's diving deep
oh
into
yeah, yeah.
who's the local farmer.
Yeah, she's ride or die local now.
I
So
love it.
she reached out to me and I delivered flowers to her downtown and met her. And she was like, wow, these are gorgeous. And I was like, oh,
That's a
stop,
huge compliment.
stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and then she hired me to work the event to help set everything up and decorate the next day. But one of the most revealing things that I heard from her was as we were finishing up, the whole dining room is set, everything is perfect. She's fine tuning details. And she just pulls me aside and she said, one of the things I really love about local flowers is look at this. And she points out the curve of the stem that's been subject to maybe wind, or it met resistance with its flower right next to it, so it had to curve and go around. But that the uniformity of stems from holes, like there's nothing like that. That the romantic, gentle, feminine curves of local flowers and their stems, and of it coming out of like a compote arrangement where it sort of did this underground S and came back up. She's like, this is everything. I love it. And I was like, that never even occurred to me. And
Yeah.
just getting a chance to see it through her eyes, I was like, yep, that makes sense.
You can add that to your marketing. I
Yeah.
sell crooked stems.
Yeah, but like, and I took her some blooms. I was cutting a ton of really like dark black purple dahlias, and there were some that they were open centers. They had been pollinated and they were like older flowers, but they were still magnificent, that they would be perfect in an arrangement where you're not seeing the back side of them. And I said to her when I took the flowers down, I said, hey, I just want to advocate for how beautiful an older girl is. She's seen it and she's done it, but she is still fabulous. And I wanted to know if you're the type of florist that will appreciate an older girl and still let her shine. And she's like, absolutely. I was like, I love her. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to send her this interview.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I love it. I met Alicia years ago. Actually, she was doing the flowers, or she helping with the flowers for the wedding of her former assistant.
Mhm.
And the wedding was near my house, and they used my house for staging. And
Oh,
it was just
wow.
so fun to watch Alicia with all the bridesmaids helping them make their crowns and their bouquets. And oh my gosh, it was probably 10 years ago. It was such a wonderful day. And so I'll share this with her. She'll like that. And her ears are burning. But listen, Elizabeth, I'm so grateful to you for spending this time with me. Getting to know you better has been really a bonus. I know you through your writing, but now I feel like I'm going to be following all the other projects you have cooking that we'll have to devote future podcast episodes to. But I'm just really grateful for your interest in featuring slow flowers. In that article, it felt affirming to me. Sometimes we do feel really isolated in our endeavor to change the world. And I feel like now I've got another slow flower sister to talk to when I'm hitting it.
Changing the world. I hope you feel validated, because it has made all the difference. It really
Thank
has.
you. Thank you so much. And everyone, I encourage you to check out Queen Bee Blooms. We'll put all the links to Elizabeth's content and social media places, and reach out to her to tell her that you've learned something today. So thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.